Good evening, Year 11. This is your night before news video for Further Maths, Paper 1, Non-Calculator. I guess what everyone's going to want to talk about is what's going to be in the exam tomorrow. Now, the reality is it could be literally anything from across the specification. In Paper 1, I haven't got any idea what's going to come up. The only sort of steer we've got is that it's a non-calculator exam. So things that rely on your calculator, we can rule out. So there won't be any questions involving further trig or Pythag where you would need a calculator. Don't forget, you can still do those questions where you have exact trig values, or Pythagoras where it ends up just being integers, or you can leave your answers in surd form. And quadratic equations, if it needs the quadratic formula, again, probably unlikely, but it could be that you have to leave your answer as a surd. So I've just got the revision topic checklist to run through with you. Starting with number topics, so we can think about indices, sort of numerical indices. You need to know how to understand and apply those, so fractional and negative indices. Changing the base of numbers, there was quite a tricky question in the PPEs where you had to change the base of those indices to try and solve the equation. You've got surds, so it could be calculating with surds, could be rationalising the denominator. Expanding brackets, so one bracket, single brackets, double brackets, or triple brackets, but also something where you might need to use Pascal's triangle. Now, sometimes the numerical part of that, the calculating, could be quite difficult, so they'd use let you use a calculator for it. So if that comes up, it will be because the numbers are particularly nice. Factorising, you have the factor theorem, but also factorising cubic expressions. So identifying a linear factor and then maybe doing an algebraic polynomial division. Completing the square, we know that the coefficient of x squared is likely to not be 1 in further maths, so it could be negative, it could be anything really, a decimal, a fraction, anything. Algebraic fractions, so knowing how to simplify them, manipulate them, sort of calculate with them, so add, subtract, multiply, divide. Linear graphs, parallel perpendicular lines, maybe some coordinate geometry, solving some problems with parallel and perpendicular lines. Quadratic graphs, you need to know how to identify and interpret roots, intercepts and turning points. You've got to be able to sketch them, labelling all of that information, but also understand and use the discriminant, which remember is all about the number of roots a function has. Cubic and quartic graphs, if you're asked to sketch those, you need three things. You need your x-intercepts, your roots, your y-intercept, and you need to know the shape of the graph so you know what it looks like. When you plot those, any points of intersection with the axes x or y do need to be clearly labelled. Trig graphs, much like at GCSE, you need to know how to draw those, recognise them, solve trig equations, exact trig values. You've got graphical transformations, and in further maths that does include stretches. Circles, so you've got the equation of a circle where the centre is not at the origin, you've got to be able to use that, and solving problems involving the equation of the circle and other graphs. Non-linear graphs, you could be calculating or estimating gradients of graphs, interpreting those as well, finding the area under the graph, including using the trapezium rule. If the question wants you to use trapezium rule, then it will tell you to do that and you have to do it, otherwise they won't award you any marks. So make sure that you're familiar with substituting into that. Functions, as well as doing the typical GCSE stuff like composite, inverse, you might be expected to talk about domain and range, or if the function has an asymptote. I won't linger too much talking about solving equations because you do that a lot in just GCSE maths. So you've got linear equations, you've got quadratic equations, you've got simultaneous equations, you've got inequalities. Remember that new set notation we looked at in further maths, and you also have linear programming where you sort of sketch those inequalities onto a graph. It's all to do with the context, and it's possibly something about maximising or minimising, and then you have your feasible region. Pythag and trig you're very familiar with already, but those problems can be quite complex in further maths. And probability. So calculating, you've got tree diagrams, Venn diagrams, you've got the new set notation as well. And conditional probabilities, and especially sort of conditional probability questions that lead to quadratic equations. Finally then, just proof and vectors. Proof, similar to GCSE, you've got those geometric proofs in there, so circle theorems, congruency, similarity. And vectors, you also have geometric problems, but if you remember again from your mocks, they are quite tricky geometric problems, but also position vectors, which you don't do at GCSE 2. So what should you do this evening? You should get yourself onto the student share drive, Key Stage 4 revision, and then select Further Maths 2025. You've got all of those folders you can see on the screen now. So starting with the Further Maths revision checklist, which we've just talked through together. There's lots of topic revision papers with mark schemes. You've got Mock 1 and the PPEs on there with their mark schemes, the Easter revision papers, and then all of the lesson resources, all of those PowerPoints. If you want to look at specific topics, I highly recommend your main port of call is that folder on the student share drive. You could, if you wanted to, go on Arbor and try to backdate. It's probably a bit more difficult. You've also got Sparks Maths. If you go to independent learning, you can obviously revise all of those higher level sort of GCSE math skills. You can also set it to be AQA level 2 further maths. Just a bit of a health warning there. Be careful if you do that, because it's the AQA specification, there are some topics on there that are not in our specification for tomorrow. So use that revision topic checklist to check that it's on there before doing it. And the same for core bit maths. You can see there is a further maths section. Again, that is set up for the AQA specification. Loads of good stuff on there that's definitely relevant for you, but also some stuff you need to stay away from. So use that revision topic checklist to make sure that you know exactly what you should be revising and what isn't for you. That's everything for this video. Good luck with the rest of your revision this evening, and we look forward to seeing you at lunchtime tomorrow for your final bit of revision before you go into your exam in the afternoon.